All right. So for chapter 8, um, we are focusing primarily on strategy. And so strategy focuses on what kind of time frame? The long term, right? Strategy is our long term goals. We talked about tactics before spring break, and the tactics is what we can do in the short term. What can we do right now to change our rate to impact our revenue? But our strategy is going to be our overall goal for the particular time period and long term, usually for the year. Okay. Um, so strategy is what we are focusing on the long term. Okay. We're going to focus on the pricing, what we want our pricing to be. We're going to focus on kind of what particular markets we're going to be going after, what demographics we're going to be going after. It's going to be our strategy. What kind of maybe if we are on the event side, what kind of events are we going to go after? Are we going to go after more associations? Are we going to do more social things like weddings? What is our strategy for the year? And then our tactical is going to be what's going to be coming up and how we achieve that strategy. So pricing, when it comes to pricing, our tactical, remember, is what we can do in the in the last little bit as it's closer to the date. Remember, we talked about that identical net revenue formula, that if I drop my rate by this amount, what occupancy do I have to get to in order to maintain that identical net revenue? That's tactical. I'm thinking, okay, if I'm going to change my rate in the short term, can I get to that higher occupancy rate? And if I can't, I don't want to change my rate, right? Because it's going to actually cost me more money to take in reservations at a lower rate than if I just left it alone. Okay. The strategic management is we're looking at basically who do we want to have in our hotel? What's the mix of guests, whether it's group travel, um, business travel, leisure travel? What are our target markets that we're going to be going after? So with our strategic, we first want to figure out what is our demand generation? What can we do to generate more demand for our hotel? Okay. We also want to look at all the revenue streams within the property. So, what are some other examples of other revenue streams besides room rates? Valet. Valet, spa. The spa, good. Retail, absolutely. The bar. The bar, food and beverage. Okay. So we're going to look at how can we manage, how can we capitalize and use all of these revenue streams. In chapter 10, at the end of chapter 10, we're going to talk about packaging and how do we strategically package. So we're going to save this third bullet point for chapter 10, but we want to be strategic in how we package things. What is an example or how would you define a package when it comes to like a hotel? Jesse, what do you think?
Everything included.
Yeah, absolutely. So a package is essentially at least two or more things, and you're selling it as one price. Okay. So a package might be a room and valets included. Okay. And you're going to sell it for a specific price. It may be that you've got dinner and a show and a hotel, right? So you stay at the hotel, buy this package, and we're going to give you 2 tickets to go to the Majestic Theater to see this show at the Majestic Theater. Okay. So we want to be strategic in what our packaging is going to be. There's a lot of hotels downtown that will do NIOSA packages. So you stay at the hotel and they're going to give you 2 tickets to go to NIOSA for the night, which is one of the Fiesta events that happens during Fiesta. So that strategic packaging is really key to generate demand. Okay. And then the last thing is figuring out how we're going to sell our rooms, that distribution channels. What are some examples of distribution channels? Okay, so we have the OTAs, online travel agents like TripAdvisor, Expedia, Hotels.com, Orbitz. Okay, that's one distribution channel. What else?
Website.
Our website. So directly through our website or an app, calling the hotel directly. We also have I take that back. Internet distribution systems, IDS, or the online travel agencies. We also have a global distribution system, and that's going to be used more by travel agents, okay, less by the average internet user. Basically, it's the same thing, but travel agents have access to that inventory.
That's the one that your sister does, right?
So my sister is a travel agent, yep. So she has access to these larger databases, and it also includes airlines, hotels, so they can book all of that stuff for their clients. Yeah.
Have you asked her, like, have you referenced what you see versus what she sees?
No, I've never done that before, but I probably should. It'd be a good little brother thing to do to show interest in what my big sister's doing. It's a very good suggestion. Thank you, Jason. But yeah, so distribution channel is basically how do we get our inventory to our guests? Okay. Do we have to put our inventory on OTAs like Expedia?
No.
We don't have to, but a lot of people today are trained to go there, right? And so if we're not on there, it's almost like a necessary evil, okay? But we'll talk about what I believe it's at the end of chapter 9. We'll talk about how not all revenue is created equally. Yes, sir.
To go back to the other one, strategy packaging, where would all inclusive fall in? Would they fall in underneath that packaging or would it fall?
I feel like all-inclusive resorts would kind of be in their own category because it's already kind of packaged. When we think about like packaging, you want to think about like for example, if there's a parade on the Riverwalk, then a lot of the Riverwalk hotels will have a parade watching package where you get your room and you're going to be guaranteed to be on a Riverview room, right? Or you might have I don't know, like a Spurs package, and when you stay at the hotel, they'll give you two tickets to the Spurs game,
Okay.
right? So those types of packages could be a romance package where you show up and you get some chocolate covered strawberries and a bottle of champagne in your room when you show up, right? Or a charcuterie board or something like some kind of amenity that's delivered to your hotel room as part of the package. Okay, and so we'll talk about in chapter 10 the different components of those packages and which ones are more beneficial than others. Okay. So demand generation, one of the biggest keys with this is going to be differentiation. How are we more marketable as a property? What sets us apart? What is different about us that makes us more marketable than our competitors? Okay. So think about this. What are some things that you expect when you walk into a hotel room? Or obviously there's going to be a bed, okay? But what are some other things that you expect to be in the hotel room when you go in there? A coffee machine, okay? And now not even just coffee machines, now it's got to be a Keurig machine, like the brand name, right? Or if you're staying at Renaissance, Renaissance is a brand under Marriott Hotels. They have the Nespresso cafe machines, which I think are so much better than Keurigs. But so yeah, so coffee machine or some kind of way to brew coffee, okay, or tea. What else?
If I'm travel for work, I want a desk.
A desk, okay, good.
Steamer or iron?
A steamer or an iron or an ironing board, yep.
Safe to keep your secret
Absolutely, a safe somewhere in there to keep your to protect your valuable items.
A robe.
Okay, what?
Robe.
A robe, okay, yep, depending on the level of service of the hotel. Yeah.
The extra.
Toiletries.
Toiletries, and all the amenities, okay, like the soap, the shampoo, the body wash, the conditioner, all that stuff, right? What did we say?
The extra safety locks on it.
Okay, yeah, so some kind of way to have like a deadbolt or something like that. Yeah, exactly. Okay. All of those things, maybe not all of them, but I would say a big percentage of those things came about because of differentiation. There used to be a time that I don't remember this because this is before my time. I'm not that old, okay? But there used to be a time where you had to go down to the front desk and request an iron and an ironing board to be sent to your room. And then somebody said, hey, you know what? Why don't we put irons and ironing boards in everybody's room as a standard? And then everyone else was like, okay, well, that set that person apart for a minute. And then everybody else saw how profitable that was. And so, like, you know what? Let's just do that. The University of Houston, the Hilton at U of H, they have steamers.
Yes.
It took me a while to get used to that. I've done a couple of conventions there. It's kind of weird because there's no ironing board. So you just lay it down on the bed or like hang it up in the closet and just steam, which to me doesn't give that nice crease in your sleeve, but whatever. You know, so, but that's like a standard for them is to have a steamer instead of an iron or ironing board. That differentiates them from other companies, other hotels. Um, Breakfast in the morning. Breakfast used to be a continental breakfast, which was muffins, pastries, cereal, and juice. That was it. And then somebody said, you know what? Why don't we add a hot option? Why don't we add a meat and some eggs to our complimentary breakfast? That's going to differentiate ourselves. I don't quote me on this, but I think it was La Quinta that did that. That said, we're going to start offering a protein option and some eggs into our continental breakfast and make it a hot breakfast, right? And so then everybody else is like, well, yeah, this is going to attract a lot of people to go to there, so we're going to do it as well. So those differentiation techniques are things that you can do to set yourself apart. So differentiation strategies include all of these four. Unique features, a level of service, depending on what the level of service is, the location, and then also brand affiliation. Okay. So what do you think about unique features? Can y'all think about a hotel that you've heard about that's a really unique feature that might attract people? Yes.
There's this hotel with inside your hotel room you can see giraffes. Like
Yeah, you might have a hotel that's on a safari or like on a wildlife ranch, and right outside your hotel room are the giraffes. Yeah, absolutely.
In the Maldives, they have it where the whole room is underwater.
Yeah, absolutely. So like in those more tropical areas, I mean, how cool would that be to literally just dive off the deck of your hotel room into the crystal blue water, right? I think that'd be so amazing. Or you wake up and there's just fish swimming all around you because it's just a beautiful. No, no, Jason. No. Okay. What else, Jesse? Did you have one?
I was gonna say the underwater too.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's one that one of my students found in the previous semester. It's a literal underwater hotel where like the whole thing is underwater, like your whole room. It's like it looks like they almost put like a camper and just like submerged it underwater. So like when you go in, you have to like come out of like you know like when you see in the movies, it has like that little pool of like the oil stations, right? That has a little pool that like they get in the machine and it goes underwater. Oh, that was really interesting. I don't know if I would stay in that one. It seemed very not safe. What else? Any other kind of unique features that y'all can think about?
Well, the hotel that no, it wasn't Cyprus after that, the one by Tobin where they have the art gallery in it.
Oh yeah, that's the Thompson.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the Thompson hotels, that's part of their brand. If you go to Thompson Dallas, I stayed at the Thompson Dallas one time, and in the room they have a little flyer that has basically information about every piece of artwork throughout the whole hotel. Kind of like your own little like guided tour of all the art that's within the hotel. So that's absolutely a part that they're really focused on that. Jason.
There's this one like random video that I saw of a hotel that's like out in the Arctic, and you essentially have to, take a plane out there, then you have to hike like 3 hours with a guide. And then they only have 4 rooms, but they have a full staff, and you essentially get the whole hotel to yourself. But
Nice.
it's a full trek to get out there.
Yeah.
No Wi-Fi, no internet, no anything. You're just
Nice.
out there in nature.
Mm-mm.
So,
Yeah, absolutely.
That's different.
Going back to the packages real quick, Danielle, before while this is in my head, I had someone come to speak to my class about packaging, and they created a disconnect package where basically they took your phone at check-in and put it into the safes at the front desk, the safety deposit box at the front desk. Um, and they actually had people sign up for it. Like they didn't think so. Sometimes you create a package and then not really thinking it all the way through. And then all of a sudden people start buying the package and to figure out how to execute it. She's like, so how do we legally take people's phones from them and take responsibility of it, right? So that was something that like they're like, we just wanted to see if people would do it. But they literally would come in, give their phone up, and they would be at the hotel for 3 days without a phone. So the whole purpose of it was just to disconnect and not be on your phone all the time, be more present on your vacation. Danielle, go ahead.
Yeah, there's one in Singapore. It's a hotel. It's actually shaped like a ship
Okay.
on stilts, and it's the highest point, and it has an infinity pool.
Nice. Awesome. I mean, my sister posted today, this last weekend, yesterday was her birthday. And so I guess, did something happen in New Orleans over the weekend? Do they have like storms or something?
There was a
I don't-
really big storm.
Was
I
there?
know I think
Okay.
it's south.
Because she posted something about she was supposed to go to New Orleans, but she ended up staying in Houston. But she was at the Marriott Marquis. Anybody know what the unique feature at the Marriott Marquis in Houston is? Let me show you. The unique feature on, I think it's the 6th floor, is a Texas-shaped lazy river.
Why? Because Texas is kind of a circle.
We're Texas.
I mean,
Why would you not have a Texas-shaped lazy
oh,
river?
I thought this was in New Orleans.
No.
Oh.
Sorry, this is Houston. This is Houston, yeah. So she had to stay, she did a little staycation in Houston. Ended up at the Marriott Marquis downtown Houston, right? And so this obviously is the hotel, and I think it's about the 4th or 6th floor. They have like the big open area for the pool. So that's a unique feature that people are like, hey, I want to go float in a Texas-shaped lazy river. So those different types of things. One thing that was a big differentiator, I should say, is the Westin Heavenly Bed. Okay, Westin invested something like $10 million, like a decade or so ago. And it basically they spent that kind of money to develop what they call the Heavenly Bed. And if you've never stayed at a Westin hotel, I highly recommend that you do, especially if you're Marriott, because you get your associate rate. The Westin Heavenly Bed is exactly that. It is heavenly. I mean, it's like you just like sink into the bed. It's like super plush. It's amazing. Level of service, obviously we have select service, full service, luxury. We have all those different levels of service. That can definitely be something that can set you apart from your competition. The location, okay? Does somebody have to be in your direct comp set, like in your direct geographic area in order to have a sorry, let me take that back. Sorry, I'm thinking comp set. What would be an example of location being a differentiator?
Disney?
What's that?
Disney?
Yeah, so if it's near a theme park, and the hotel is part of the theme park, right? That's a differentiator between the other hotels in the area. Like if you are actually literally connected to the resort, or the resort's connected to the theme park, that's a differentiator. Okay, yes.
What about our Riverwalk Hotel?
Yes, absolutely. So the Westin Riverwalk um, is different from the Westin Northwest, which is over by Six Flags, kind of by Six Flags. Used to be the old Omni, but one is located somewhere different. They're both Westin hotels, but the one's located at the Riverwalk, one's located more towards the theme park. Okay, so different brands might have a different location, okay, based on what you're looking to go for. But it could also be things like Caribbean hotels, like that unique location out in the middle of nowhere, right? Out in the resort. I would feel like Pagosa Springs, right? They have unique features. They have a great level of service, a very unique location. Um, there's no brand affiliation for them though. And so that location can be a differentiator to get people to go to visit your property. Okay. And then brand affiliation. What does that mean, Oscar?
Um, just having that like expectation um, of like service they know you're gonna get in like a courtyard or a West End.
Exactly. So you know basically what kind of level of service, what kind of experience you're going to have based on that brand, right? You could have um you could have a hotel that is very similar to, okay, let me give you this example. This last weekend I went to Phoenix for school, and I found out that Grand Canyon University, where I'm going to school right now, actually has a hospitality program. I had no idea. But they have a hotel on campus, right? And so I didn't know, it's not a branded hotel. I didn't know what to expect, right? Come to find out, I think that somebody said that it used to be an old Super 8 motel. And then it was bought by the university and converted to the Grand Canyon University Hotel. And I was like, that makes sense. Yeah. Exterior corridors. The rooms were not super luxurious, right? There was no popcorn ceiling though. Like, so that I was like, at least that was like kind of a nice little upgrade that they did when they renovated. But I was like, yeah, I could see this as being a Super 8 motel. But it was still like kind of decent, right? But if you know Hilton, like if you know Hampton Inn versus a Home Two Suites versus a Homewood Suites, or with Marriott, Renaissance, or Residence Inn versus Courtyard versus Fairfield, all those things have that, those brands have a specific identity so that you know when you walk in, you're going to have a specific level of service at those brands. All right. So I think I've referenced this before. And I forgot that I had put it into this PowerPoint. So when I was studying at North Texas, University of North Texas, going for my master's degree, they were talking about they were talking about business, right? And I found this article about from the San Antonio Business Journal about the most profitable hotels in the Eagle Ford Shale area. Does anybody not know what Eagle Ford Shale area is? Okay, so it's kind of southwest of San Antonio. So they did a lot of fracking. So that's where they're like getting the natural gas out of the ground, right? And so that whole area just like boomed overnight, right? So all these people are headed down there now. All these companies are down there getting natural gas, getting oil out of the ground, right? And so the Business Journal did an article. This was Q1. I don't remember the year, unfortunately, but in Q1, quarter one, they did an analysis of what are the most profitable hotels in that area. Okay. Now, if you look, the Instalodge Hotel, if we just looked at this particular information right here, the Instalodge Hotel, $1.18 million. in the first quarter. Okay, so that's January, February, March, just 3 months. Okay. The Mesquite Lodge, 1.1 million. Hampton Inn, well, just a little over 1 million. Okay. Of these hotels, we have Hampton Inn, we have Holiday Inn and Holiday Inn. Those are the only three branded hotels. Everything else is an independent hotel, right? And so you look at this information and you're like, you know what? 1.1 million dollars in 3 months. That seems pretty awesome compared to the $629,000 that Holiday Inn Express did. Okay. But now if we take a look, the number of rooms, the Insta Lodge has 232 rooms. The Holiday Inn only has 70 rooms. Holiday Inn Express only has 70 rooms. So the Insta Lodge has to sell more because they have more rooms to sell. So what I did, it was interesting because I actually knew the person who wrote the article, and I was like, you probably should do analysis of this again. I was like, because in reality, the Insta Lodge is not the most profitable hotel. Yeah, they brought in the most money, but they have almost the most number of rooms. So I looked at the total Q1, total rooms available. I did the RevPAR, revenue per available room. Remember that RevPAR puts hotels of different room number quantities on that same level playing field. So if we look at the Insta Lodge, their RevPAR was only $55.46 per room per night. Okay. But if we look at the Russell Stout, 137. Okay. And so if we then redo the rooms based on RevPAR, the Russell and Stout stays at 137. The Hampton Inn's 118. The Holiday Inn Expresses get moved up to number 4 and 5. 3 and 4, sorry. So what does that tell you? That told me the way that I wrote this up in my paper when I reevaluated this from an industry perspective, right? From a business journal perspective, from somebody who doesn't know anything about industry, doesn't know anything about RevPAR, ADR, anything like that, they're gonna say, oh yeah, 1.18 million dollars is the best performing hotel. But on a different key performance indicator based on RevPAR, now we've got Hampton, Holiday Inn, and Holiday Inn. Of the top 5 hotels, 3 of them are branded. So that told me, just as I'm analyzing this, I don't know if this is the case or not, but what this told me was that there was a need for branded hotels in that area. Most often in rural communities, you're going to find independent hotels, okay? Or you're going to find things like Hampton or Holiday Inn Express, La Quinta, Best Western, okay? In those smaller rural communities. So what this told me was, if I looked at this, maybe people valued being able to get rewards points. Maybe people valued the knowing what level of service I'm going to get at a Holiday Inn Express versus the remote lodge and logistics. Remote lodging and logistics, yeah, they had more money in revenue than both Holiday Inn Expresses. But because they had 256 rooms to sell, their RevPAR was only $28.03. Okay. So compared to 70 rooms, compared to 256 rooms, right? And so this is where understanding those key performance indicators and how you stack up against your competition. Yeah, they may bring in more money, but they have to bring in more money because they have more rooms to fill on a regular basis. Okay. It would be almost impossible at 70 rooms. Okay, I'm gonna go a little off script for a second. Usually doesn't work out well when I go off script. Let's take this Insta Lodge for an example. Okay, at 70 rooms. So in this time period, they have, let's go with 6,440 rooms, right? To get this same level of revenue of 1,183,777.74 divided by my 6,440 rooms I have available, that's a rev par of $183, right? Compared to $55.46. And so people may not be paying $183 for a Hampton Inn or a Holiday Inn Express. So in order for them to get that higher revenue, they'd have to charge a higher price, which then means people may not actually stay with them. Okay. And so this revenue per available room puts things on a more even playing field. So just understanding how those things work, what was my overall strategy? Now, in that region, because a lot of the is people are staying there long term, because people are usually there for like their week-long shift in the oil fields. They may have different strategies than Holiday Inn Expresses in San Antonio, because they're serving a different clientele. So questions about, we take the same information and it looks like Holiday Inn and the last two, the number 9 and number 10 performing, that's just based on revenue only. But if we flip it and look at it from a different perspective, like RevPAR, Hampton and Holiday Inn come up to numbers 2, 3, and 4. So there's different how you look at how you approach it. Questions about what we talked about so far for chapter 8? All right, I'm going to stop the video. Actually, before I do that, let me go back to brand affiliation real quick. So with brand affiliation, we also have management companies. Oops. We also have management companies. And with the management companies, we have first tier and second tier. So first tier is basically the management company has its own brand. Okay. Which means like a Marriott hotel is managed by Marriott Hotels. Okay. Whereas a second tier management company is going to be managing multiple brands. Okay. They may manage multiple 2 or more brands. Okay. So for example, let's do a quick Google search. So Phoenix Hospitality Group. Phoenix Hospitality Group is a hotel management company, okay? A management company, and they manage a variety of brands, okay? So they have Hilton, they have IHG, which is Indigo, DoubleTree is Hilton, Tapestry by Hilton. I don't know what the William is. They also, I believe, Phoenix Hospitality also does the Kimpton Hotel here in San Antonio, I think. Kimpton Santo. Trying to see if I can find where, I think it's Phoenix Hospitality Group.
The Kimpton in San Antonio?
The Kimpton here.
Yeah, just go to whitelodging.com.
White Lodging, that's who they are, sorry. White Lodging is the other one. Phoenix Hospitality Group is another large one. White Lodging is another large management company. Baywood is another one that's here in San Antonio. So Baywood Hotels, they don't have their own brand, but they manage multiple brands. Presidian Hospitality has multiple brands, right? So they'd be considered a second tier management company because they manage not their own hotel brand, they manage multiple brands from different across the different areas. Okay. So that's what I wanted to talk about real quick. I want to mention that because that is on your exam about the brand affiliation. Okay? So let me stop that.